All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're lacing up and, hitting the trails virtually, of course. You've given us a ton of reviews, articles, even some YouTube videos on the Xero Shoes Scrambler Trail Low WP. So
Yep.
clearly you want to hear what we think about these waterproof wonders.
And you have come to the right place, especially since you want that bare tread expert perspective. We've really put these shoes through their paces, and we are so ready to share all the juicy details. Think of this deep dive as the perfect companion to that full bare tread review.
I love it. So no need for Barefoot 101 today.
Yeah.
We know our listeners, you're already fluent in foot-shaped toe boxes and zero-drop platforms. Let's just jump right into the Scrambler Trail Low WP. What were your first impressions?
Well, right out of the box, I was struck by how sleek they look.
Yeah.
Some hiking shoes can be real clunkers, but these have a much more understated style. You could easily wear them around town without looking like you just, stepped off Everest.
Okay, I'm seeing a theme here. Versatile, sleek.
Yeah.
Did the actual build of the shoe match that first impression?
Absolutely. They're surprisingly lightweight, just under 10 ounces for a men's size 9. And despite that, they feel really durable with a reinforced toe cap and heel counter. You can tell Xero Shoes wasn't messing around when it came to building these for the long haul.
5,000-mile warranty, right? That's a pretty bold statement. But before we even get into durability, let's talk comfort. The heart and soul of any good barefoot shoe.
And that's where these shoes really shine. The toe box is, of course, wonderfully wide, just like we expect from Xero Shoes. But what really impressed me was the combination of a secure midfoot lockdown and a flexible sole. You get that snug fit to prevent slippage, but your foot can still move naturally.
So no feeling like your feet are trapped in a cement block.
Not at all. And here's a detail I really appreciated, the gusseted tongue. It's basically sewn in on both sides, creating a seal that keeps out all kinds of trail debris. I even took them through some pretty dense underbrush, and not a single twig or pebble made its way in.
It's genius.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got style, comfort, and clever little details. But the big question, one that I think everyone's asking, do these shoes really live up to their waterproof claim?
Well, I can say with confidence, yes, they do. Remember, I'm based in the UK, so I've tested them in some seriously soggy conditions, drizzle, downpours, you name it, and my feet stayed bone dry.
Okay, color me impressed, but every waterproof shoe has its limits.
Of course.
Yeah.
You have to be realistic. If you're wading through rivers, water's going to find a way in from the top. And honestly, if you're regularly tackling those kinds of conditions, you might want to consider something like the Xero Aqua X Sport, which is specifically designed for water sports and very wet hikes.
Good point. So for the average hiker dealing with rain mud puddles, these should hold up.
Absolutely. I even walk through dewy grass and shallow streams with completely dry feet. The Xerotex membrane really does its job.
Amazing. All right, so they passed the waterproof test, but how about actual trail performance? Do they grip? Do they flex? Do they feel good? Spill the tea?
Okay, get this. They've got this aggressive lug pattern on the outsole. You'd think they'd be strictly for rugged trails. But here's the thing. They're surprisingly comfortable on pavement, too. I wore them on my commute before hitting the trails, and it felt totally natural.
Talk about versatile, but how was the grip on actual trails? Did you encounter any, shall we say, slippery situations?
They were fantastic on dry trails and even held their own on most muddy sections. I will say on wet rocks or super slick mud, you do have to be a bit more careful, but honestly, that's true of any shoe, even with the grippiest treads.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, ground feel is obviously huge for us barefoot folks.
Yeah.
How did these stack up?
That's a great question. And it's a tricky balance to strike with a waterproof shoe, right? You want protection, but you don't want to feel completely disconnected from the trail. These definitely lean towards more protection, but I wouldn't say they're overly thick or clunky. You still get a decent amount of sensory feedback.
So not quite like walking barefoot on a sandy beach, but you can still feel the rocks and roots underfoot.
Exactly. I could tell when I was transitioning from dirt to gravel to rock, which is important for maintaining that agility and awareness on the trail. And the flexibility of the sole really enhances that. It allows your foot to move naturally with the terrain.
Okay, I'm picturing myself scrambling over rocks, feeling confident and connected. But let's be real, waterproofing usually means sacrificing some breathability. How did your feet feel after a long hike? Steamy.
It's true. Any waterproof membrane is going to affect breathability to some extent, but I have to say these performed better than I expected. Xero Shoes has included a moisture wicking liner, which definitely helps.
So not like walking around with plastic bags on your feet.
Definitely not. Now, Beartooth actually put together a really helpful temperature comfort range graphic for these shoes, which you can find on the website. It shows the sweet spot is between about 40 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Outside of that range, you might start to feel a bit more warmth.
Makes sense. So if someone is consistently hiking in hot, dry climates, they might want to consider a non-waterproof Xero option.
Exactly. The standard Scrambler Low or the Mesa Trail 2 would be great choices for those situations. But if you need waterproof protection for those shoulder seasons, or if you're hiking in areas where the weather can be unpredictable, then the Scrambler Trail Low WP is a solid bet.
All right, so we've covered comfort, waterproofing, trail performance. But what about the long game? Can these shoes really withstand the wear and tear of regular hiking? Let's talk durability.
Well, remember that 5,000-mile warranty we talked about? It's not just a marketing gimmick. These shoes are seriously tough. After putting them through over 180 miles of testing, I noticed minimal signs of wear.
180 miles, that's like a lot of steps. What specific areas seem to hold up well?
The reinforced toe cap and heel counter I mentioned earlier definitely did their job, and the outsole lugs show barely any signs of wear. They're still grippy as ever. Even the laces, which can be a weak point on some shoes, are surprisingly durable. They're round and thick, and they haven't shown any fraying or stretching.
It's always the little details, isn't it? You can really tell
Yeah.
when a company puts thought into every aspect of the design.
Absolutely, and I think that's a hallmark of Xero shoes in general. They're not just jumping on the barefoot bandwagon. They're truly committed to creating high-quality functional footwear that respects the natural movement of the foot.
It shows. All right, so we've established that the Scrambler Trail OWP is comfortable, waterproof, performs well on trails, and is built to last. But is it just a one-trick pony? A pure hiking shoe, or is there more to this story?
Oh, there's definitely more. This is where things get really exciting. I've been wearing these shoes for everything: hikes, walks around town, even to the office. They're so versatile.
Wait to the office in hiking shoes.
I know, right? But hear me out. They're sleek enough to pass as regular sneakers, and they're incredibly comfortable for all-day wear.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So imagine this, you're going on a trip that involves some hiking, some city, exploring, maybe even a fancy dinner. Could you get away with packing just these shoes?
I honestly think you could. One reviewer I read even called them the perfect travel shoe because they can handle such a wide range of activities.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. It's like the minimalist traveler's dream shoe.
It really is. And to put that versatility to the ultimate test, I took them on a pretty challenging 12-mile hike in the Lake District.
Now, for our listeners who aren't familiar, the Lake District is...
It's rugged, beautiful, and notoriously unpredictable weather-wise. Think rolling hills, rocky scrambles, and the occasional downpour. And let me tell you, the Scrambler Trail Low WP handled it all like a champ.
So dry feet, no blisters, happy hiker.
Exactly. My feet stayed comfortable throughout the entire hike, and the shoes provided excellent grip on all sorts of terrain, from boggy moorland to rocky ascents. It was a true test of their capabilities, and they passed with flying colors.
All right, I'm officially sold, but I know our listeners are probably wondering, how do these shoes compare to other barefoot hiking options out there?
Yeah.
Luckily, Bear Tread has us covered, right?
You know what? They've created this awesome comparison table that lays it all out. It compares the Scrambler Trail Low WP to other popular models like the non-waterproof Scrambler Low, the Mesa Trail 2, the Vivo Barefoot Tracker, even the Xero Daylight Hiker.
So you can see at a glance how they stack up in terms of waterproofing, weight, price, all the important factors.
Right, and what's really helpful is that it highlights the key trade-offs. For example, the Scrambler Trail Low WP is heavier than the non-waterproof options, but that's the price you pay for that waterproof protection.
And it's lighter and more affordable than the Vivo Barefoot Tracker while still offering that same level of waterproofing.
Exactly. So there are definitely some choices to be made, but the comparison table helps you weigh those options based on your individual needs and priorities.
Okay, so we've got the comparison table. Anything else Gertrude has cooked up to help our listeners make the right decision?
Well, they've gone above and beyond. As usual, they've created this interactive flowchart called "Is the Scrambler Trail Low WP Right for You?"
Ooh, I love a good flowchart. It's like having a personal shoe guru guiding you through the process.
Right. And it asks all the right questions. What kind of trails do you typically hike on how much ground feel versus protection do you prefer? What's your budget? By the end, you'll have a clear answer to whether this is the shoe for you.
Okay, that's brilliant. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Comfort, waterproofing, trail performance, durability, versatility.
Yeah.
We even tackled the tough questions about breathability and ground feel. Where do we even go from here?
Well, I think it's time to zoom out a bit and talk about the bigger picture. What does the Scrambler Trail Low WP tell us about the evolution of barefoot hiking footwear?
Ooh, now we're getting philosophical. I love it.
And since we're all barefoot shoe enthusiasts here, I want to dive into some feedback from other people who've tried the Scrambler Trail Low WP.
Because real-world experiences are just as valuable as expert opinions, right?
Absolutely. And trust me, you're going to love what you hear, but we'll save those juicy details for part 2 of our deep dive. It's fascinating to see how barefoot hiking footwear has evolved over the years.
Yeah.
We've come a long way from those early days of floozy sandals and DIY
It's
hurrahs.
true. Remember when waterproof barefoot shoes were practically unheard of? You either embraced the soggy socks or you sacrificed the barefoot feel.
Yeah, exactly. And now we have shoes like the Scrambler Trail Low WP, which manages to deliver both waterproof protection and that natural, connected to the trail experience that we crave.
It's like the best of both worlds. But speaking of real-world experiences, you teased some feedback from other barefoot enthusiasts who have tried these shoes. Spill the beans.
Okay. Yet this one reviewer said, and I quote, "I took these shoes on a week-long backpacking trip through the Scottish Highlands, and they absolutely blew me away. My feet stayed dry through rain, mud, and stream crossings, and they were so comfortable I could wear them all day without any issues."
Wow, the Scottish Highlands talk about a proving ground.
Right, and another reviewer said, "I was skeptical about the waterproofing at first, but these shoes have exceeded all my expectations. I've worn them on countless rainy hikes, and my feet have never gotten wet."
Okay, so the waterproof consensus is in these shoes deliver, but what about the versatility aspect? Did people actually wear these for everyday activities, or was it mostly hiking focused?
You're going to love this. One reviewer said, "I wear these shoes everywhere, to work, to the gym, to run errands, even on dates."
Dates. Okay, now I have to know more about this stylish date night hiker.
Right. Apparently, this reviewer paired them with a cute dress and got tons of compliments. People couldn't believe they were technically hiking shoes.
Talk about breaking down stereotypes. I love that.
Me too. And it just goes to show that these shoes are truly versatile. They can blend seamlessly into your everyday life, which is a huge plus for people who don't want to buy a separate pair of shoes for every activity.
It's like the minimalist's dream come true, one shoe to rule them all.
Exactly. But let's not forget about the heart of the matter performance on the trail. And one comment that really stuck with me was from a trail runner who said, "I've been searching for a barefoot shoe that could handle both technical trails and wet conditions, and I finally found it. The Scrambler Trail Low WP provides amazing grip stability and ground feel, and my feet stay dry no matter what the weather throws at me."
So not just for casual hikers, these shoes can handle some serious trail running action.
Absolutely. And it brings up a point we haven't touched on yet, the importance of ground feel for things like balance and agility, especially on those trickier trails.
Right, it's not just about feeling the ground, it's about your body being able to react and adjust quickly.
Exactly. And with the Scrambler Trail Low WP, even with that waterproof membrane, you still get enough feedback from the terrain to maintain that proprioception, that sense of where your feet are in space.
Okay, for those of us who aren't walking anatomy textbooks, break down proprioception and why it matters on the trail.
Think of it like this. You're hiking on a rocky path, and your foot lands on a loose stone with good proprioception. Your muscles and tendons instantly sense that instability and react to keep you balanced. You might make a slight adjustment in your stance, engage different muscles, or even shift your weight slightly. It all happens without you even thinking about it.
So it's like having built-in shock absorbers and stabilizers in your feet and ankles.
Exactly. And that's why having a good connection to the ground is so important. Your body can react more efficiently when it's getting clear sensory feedback from the terrain.
Makes sense. But going back to those reviews, did you encounter any negative feedback or criticisms of the Scrambler Trail Low WP?
Honestly, most of the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, but there were a few recurring points that are worth mentioning. Some reviewers found that the shoes run a bit small, so they recommended ordering a half size up, especially if you plan on wearing thicker socks.
Always good advice for any shoe, really. And Bear Tread has that handy size guide on their site, right?
Right, they've got you covered.
Yeah.
And another comment that popped up a few times was about the breathability. Some people found the shoes a bit warm in hot weather, which is understandable given the waterproof membrane.
Yeah, that's the trade-off you make with waterproof shoes.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Xero Shoes did a pretty good job mitigating that with the moisture-wicking liner and the breathable membrane.
Absolutely. And they're very transparent about the temperature range these shoes are designed for, which I appreciate. They're not trying to pretend these are going to be the most breathable shoes on the market. They're focused on providing reliable waterproof protection, and they do that exceptionally well.
Okay, so minor quibbles about sizing and breathability. But overall, A resounding thumbs up from the barefoot community. What else can we glean from these real-world experiences?
Well, I think it's clear that the Scrambler Trail Low WP has struck a chord with people who are looking for a do-it-all shoe. You know, that one pair that can handle hikes, errands, travel, even a bit of trail running. It's that combination of versatility, performance, and minimalist design that seems to be resonating.
And the fact that they actually deliver on the waterproof promise. No one wants to be caught out in the rain with soggy feet.
Absolutely. And you know, it's not just about staying dry, it's about that peace of mind, knowing that you can tackle any trail in any weather without having to worry about your footwear.
Freedom to explore rain or shine.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've explored first impressions, dove deep into the features, heard rave reviews from fellow barefoot enthusiasts.
Mm.
I'd say it's time to get practical. Let's break down those resources Bear Tread has created to help our listeners make an informed decision.
Perfect timing, because the comparison table and flowchart are where Bear Tread's expertise really shines.
I'm ready to be guided on this shoe-choosing journey.
All right, let's pull up a virtual chair and, get cozy with this comparison table. It's like having a spreadsheet party, but for shoes.
I'm ready to party, but seriously, for someone who's maybe overwhelmed by all the barefoot hiking options out there, how would you suggest approaching this table?
Well, first take a deep breath. It's not as intimidating as it might seem at first glance. Start by focusing on the columns that matter most to you. Are you absolutely set on waterproofing? And filter for that is weight, a major concern. Look at that column.
Okay, so narrow it down based on your must-haves, then what?
Then it's all about those trade-offs. Let's take the Scrambler Trail Low WP and compare it to its non-waterproof sibling, the standard Scrambler Low. You'll notice the WP version is a tad heavier and a bit pricier. That's the waterproof premium, so to speak.
Makes sense you're getting that extra protection, but it comes at a slight weight and cost difference. Exactly. Now let's compare it to something like the Vivo Barefoot Tracker, which is also waterproof. You'll see the tracker's a bit heavier and has a higher stack height, meaning it has a bit more material underfoot.
So the tracker might offer a bit more protection and durability, but it might sacrifice some of that ground feel that barefoot enthusiasts love.
Right. And it's also quite a bit pricier. So this table really helps you visualize those key differences and understand where each shoe fits on the spectrum.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this table can be a game changer for someone who's trying to make a decision. But let's be honest, even with the table, choosing the right shoe can feel like a choose-your-own-adventure novel.
And that's where is the Scrambler Trail Low WP right for you? Flowchart comes in. This is like having Bear Tread hold your hand and walk you through that decision-making process.
Lead the way. Where do we start?
Well, the first question is a big one. Do you need waterproof protection? If the answer is a resounding no, the flowchart gently nudges you towards other fantastic Xero options that might be a better fit.
So no pressure to shoehorn yourself into the WP version if you don't actually need it.
Exactly. But let's say you do need waterproofing. The next question is all about your typical hiking environment. Do you brave the elements year-round, or are you more of a fair-weather hiker?
Because if you're mostly hiking in dry conditions, you might be better off with a lighter, more breathable shoe.
Right. But let's say you're that all-weather adventurer. The flowchart then dives into your preferences for ground feel versus protection. Do you crave that barefoot feel, or do you prioritize a bit more cushioning?
And this is where personal preference really comes into play. Some people love feeling every rock and root, while others prefer a bit more buffer between their feet and the trail.
Exactly. And the flowchart acknowledges that, guiding you towards shoes that align with your sensory preferences.
Okay, I'm loving this personalized approach. It's like having a custom shoe fitting, but in flowchart form.
And the best part is, even if the Scrambler Trail Low WP isn't the perfect match, the flowchart points you towards other Xero shoes that might be a better fit.
So no matter what, you're walking away with valuable insights and a clearer sense of direction.
Exactly. Bear Tread has done an amazing job creating these resources to empower people to make informed choices about their footwear.
Okay, so we've covered the comparison table, we've navigated the flowchart. What's the final takeaway for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is the Xero Shoes Scrambler Trail Low WP is a seriously impressive shoe that combines waterproof protection, barefoot comfort, and versatile style. But it's not the only option out there. Baretread.com has a wealth of information to help you explore the full spectrum of barefoot hiking shoes and find the perfect fit for your individual needs and preferences.
So don't just take our word for it. Head over to baretread.com, dive into those reviews, play around with that comparison table, and let that flowchart be your guide.
And most importantly, get out there and enjoy the trails, whether you're rocking the Scrambler Trail Low WP or another barefoot wonder. The joy of moving naturally in nature is something we should all experience.
Beautifully said. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the Zero Shoes Scrambler Trail OWP. Until next time, keep exploring and keep those feet happy.